Hi, my name is Navdeep Buddha, and this is my program PortfolioHelper. So, starting with a quick overview of what architecture I used to create this program. First of all, I use Swift UI, which is a subsection of the programming language Swift, which is Apple's development framework. By using Swift UI, I'm able to make comprehensive applications for iOS devices. And this was the best approach for this program because Apple's modern UI toolkit allows me to have so much functionality that I wouldn't have if I was using different frameworks. Next, I used MVVM architecture, which separates the UI from the logic, and by putting them together, it makes it easier to debug and test the code. Now moving on to the implementation details. First of all, I use a lot of modularity within this program. I had different views for each one of the different screens of the program. So it allowed me to specifically focus on each different part of the code. And if there are ever any problems or if I need to maintain code, it's very easy to get to the correct position. Next, I use good practices within Swift, such as using safe unwrapping of optionals, using constants such as let, and other good practices when using the Swift programming languages. Next, I used good error handling, which means I used input validation in the GPA calculation, and I had all of these stuff to make getting errors and debugging them as seamless as possible. Next, when I was making this program, I took a lot of inspiration while trying to make a good user experience. First of all, one thing that was very important to me was having an intuitive interface design. In order to reach this goal, I made the design pretty simple and I wanted to be very easy to navigate while still having a robust amount of features. To do this, I had all of the main features accessible straight from the home screen, while I used familiar UI elements across the entire app. Next, I had accessibility features, such as a voice to text functionality for inputting your activities, and I also had high contrast ratios for the text to the backgrounds for people with visual impairments. I also had it respond to both the landscape and portrait modes, which is allowed by the Swift UI framework. And now I'm going to move on to a quick demonstration of my program so you can see all of the features that I've been talking about. So at the start, you're greeted with this home screen with the four elements of this program. Let's start out with the help and support screen. On this screen, you get my email. So if you have any frequently asked questions or need any help, you can directly email me so I could help you out. Next, we have the About page. The About page provides the version number for the version of the program that you're using, and it provides a short explanation of what the app is, who made it, and what its purpose is. Now let's move on to the main feature of the program, which is a portfolio feature. In the portfolio feature, you're greeted with the GPA overview, which tells you what your GPA is. But since we haven't inputted the GPA yet, which I'll show you how to do later, nothing shows. So first of all, let's start by putting in an activity. So we're trying to build a portfolio. So let's pick a pretty good activity, such as member of FBLA completed. So this would probably be an extracurricular activity. Now, let's say I needed advice for how I could write this activity because it's very hard to word what you want to say. So I should describe my leadership role, the duration of my involvement, and all of these kind of stuff. So member for 2 years, competitor makes apps. So by doing this, I now have a way better activity overview of what activities I do than before. Now let's add another one. Winner of Tech Fair won the Tech Fair. So I could input that and I could put what it is. So let's say this was a personal project making a program for the Tech Fair. Now, after doing this, you have a complete list of all of the activities that you have in your portfolio, and you could keep adding it to it. But now you could export it as a PDF. So I'll show you an example of me exporting it. So it takes you to a PDF made with all of your activities. So if I was loading this on an iPhone, I would be able to export it to any social media application. But since I'm doing it on a computer, none are linked. So I can show you what it looks like through the print feature. So you can see each one of my extracurricular activities and what's on it. Now let's move to the GPA calculator. In the GPA calculator, you're able to put in a grade and calculate your GPA. So let's say I got an A and it's 1 credit hour. I would have a 4.0 unweighted GPA. Now let's say it's zero point 0.5 credit hours and I got a B. I would now have unweighted GPA of 3.67. So now let's move on to the code. Starting off at the top of the code, how Swift UI works is there's no interface builder, but you make all of the UI elements through the code. So here's the help view and the about view for those pages. Now the content view. On the content view, this is where all of the different pages of the program are shown. So as you can see here, all of these are shown through the content view, through showing different feature cards. Next, we have the portfolio view model. Over here, this is where the PDF is generated for like including all of your activities. Over here, this is just one part of the portfolio entry where you can put the different activities that you have done. In the add portfolio entry view, this is also a part of this, which is where you can add entries to your portfolios. So this is where you can select the categories, input the advice, and those kind of stuff. Next, we have the portfolio list view. In the portfolio list view, this is pretty much the part of the program where you can see all of your different activities, and they're all listed out, and where you have the option to generate a PDF or add a new activity. Next, we have the portfolio entry. So this is like the main part of the portfolio feature, which is where you see all of the different things that you could pick from in terms of adding a new activity, and you could add the activity itself. Next, we have the GPA calculator view. This is the view where you could select your grade and calculate your GPA straight within the app. And within the Portfolio Helper app view, this is where you are able to, it just goes to the content view, which is where we have all the feature cards. And I hope you learned a lot for what the Portfolio Helper app is. Thank you so much for listening.